first, we come up with the learning outcomes. And then based on the learning outcomes, create assessments to make sure that the assessment reflects what the learning outcome that I'm trying to achieve. And the same thing for the assignments and lessons. So these assignments and lessons are a part of learning activities. They also align with the assessment so that make sure that I provide sufficient contents, tools, and resources for students so that when they take the test, they know all the materials and they have all the tools to meet the outcomes of a learning assessments, and also that supports the learning outcomes. So they are all integrated and aligned left and right. So that's basically the concept of backward design. So let's start with an example of a bicycle shop operation. So let's say I'm teaching a class in a bicycle shop operation. So one of the learning outcomes could be, let's say, mastering parts and tools. So by completing the learning activities, the students, I expect to understand and know how to identify parts and how to use the tools properly and safely. So that is a learning outcome. So how do I assess that? Well, I think the one simple way to do that could be, let's say, a quiz. So quiz with diagrams and list of parts and tools, and then maybe some procedures, ordering procedures step by step. So that could be a reasonable. I'm sure there are many other ways to assess that, but let's, for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to have a quiz. So now, before students take a quiz, they're going to be doing learning activities. Such as I could have a demonstration or lecture on parts and tools. And also I could have like a reading assignment of the chapters explaining parts and tools and so on. So that could be learning activities. And so they'll have a textbooks, they'll have a PowerPoint presentations, and maybe even recordings of lectures. So they, the students will have a fairly comprehensive understanding of what we are looking for in terms of learning outcomes. So the students will take the quiz, and then I can assess the students' learning based on these assessments, and then make sure that these the quiz are aligned with learning outcomes. So it's in a way back and forth. So the way I design the course materials, I start with the learning outcomes here, and then based on that, I design the assessment. And based on that, I make sure that I cover all the contents and materials that I'll be assessing in the learning activities. So that's a backward. But for students' experience, learning experience will be forward. That's for, let's say, a lecture here for parts and tools. So instead of just having like a zero prompt, like a create presentation for lecture about parts and tools, we can do that. Oftentimes you will notice that the result, the AI generation, is not that appealing. It's not necessarily comprehensive. Oftentimes it points to something else than I really hope for. to avoid that or minimize that kind of a misdirection, now you can use the backward design planning that you already have. So start the prompt with course description. So this course is about bicycle shop operation, and the learning outcome is about parts and tools. And then you can also include assessment and just simply copy and paste what the assessment is. You know, you can include the file, like a Word file of the quiz, and then put it in there in the prompt. And then if you have, let's say, reading assignments, maybe you can go to the chapter and then kind of get a summary of the reading assignment chapter and put it in the prompt. And then you can say generate PowerPoint based on all this. And then you can specify how many slides or how in-depth, or have a quick summary and conclusion and all that kind of things. That you can add once you get the initial prompt generated. Okay, so with this planning that you already have in the through backward design, you can put those contents into prompt, and then you will have very comprehensive context for the prompt. That's all based on the backward design planning that you have come up. And with that basic framework, meaning that you start in the backward design planning and have the details laid out, and use that content in AI prompt to create a comprehensive context. That is the key point. You are creating very comprehensive context for the prompt, and you can use the same pathways to generate assignments. And for that matter, you can also use the same principle for grading rubrics or a whole bunch of other variety of learning materials and support materials as well.